Hello everyone, welcome back to Lesson of Sugandha. Today we are going to discuss the question and answers in text questions and the back exercise of NCERT textbook questions about chapter number 1, chemical reactions and equations of class 10th. Right, this is the first chapter. So I'm going to start with page numbers and all the questions will be discussing understanding that you have the knowledge of the chapter, right? So some things are going to be explained in detail and some of them will be understood that you already know, although I will be explaining everything side by side, right? Let us begin then. So on the screen you're able to see the chapter number 1, chemical reactions and equations, and these questions are on page number 6. So first question that it asks us, why should a magnesium ribbon be cleaned before burning in air? So this is a general thing that we do, but why should we be doing it? So basically magnesium gets covered with a layer of magnesium oxide when kept in air for a long time. So what happens is whenever we are exposing burning of magnesium to air, so oxidation happens and magnesium oxide, there's a layer formed on top of it. So basically whenever there is magnesium oxide present there, it hinders the burning of magnesium further. So that means whenever we are trying to burn magnesium ribbon, we need to clean it because oxidation must have happened and there would have been a separate layer which prevents magnesium from burning. Question number 2 asks us, write the balanced equation for the following chemical reactions. So I'm understanding that we already know how to balance chemical reactions. Still, if you want to see a detailed video on how to balance chemical reactions, you can find it in the I button above and in the description section below, right? So let us move further. First point or first part is hydrogen plus chlorine gives hydrogen chloride. So first let us understand the method of solving. First, we're going to convert the word equation into skeletal equation, that is symbolic form. Start by finding out how many atoms of each type are on each side of the equation. So we need to understand how many atoms are there on the left hand side and on the right hand side, reactant side and the product side. You can make a little table listing the numbers of each atom for the left hand side and for the right hand side. Again, the same thing has been done in the video that I was talking about. Balance the different atoms on both sides of equation by multiplying the chemical species on the side which does not have enough atoms of that type by the number required to bring it up to the same as the other side. So basically the major agenda of this point is to balance, to equalize the left hand side, the right hand side. The reactants, the number of reactants should equal to the number of products. So that is how we are going to achieve H2 plus Cl2 will give us 2HCl. So cross verifying, I have hydrogen 2 atoms and 2 atoms here, chlorine 2 molecules and 2 molecules here. Same we are going to do for the second part. Barium chloride plus aluminium sulfate gives barium sulfate plus aluminium chloride. So forming these formulae as well, we need to learn, must have learned in our 9th standard, the valencies and everything. So how these combinations get up. So barium chloride is BaCl2, aluminium sulfate is Al2SO4 whole thrice. Barium sulfate, BaSO4 and aluminium chloride, AlCl3, we need to balance. So we are going to make a differentiation table, write BaCl, Al, SO4 here and their corresponding numbers, coefficients. Similarly, we're going to do this and we're going to get these balance equation. And similarly, we're going to go with the third one. Sodium plus water gives sodium hydroxide plus hydrogen. Sodium is Na, water is H2O, sodium hydroxide NaOH, and hydrogen is H2. It's a liberated gas, so we put up this arrow as well. This is the balanced equation for the same. Okay. Question number 3. Write a balanced chemical equation with state symbols for the following reaction. So the first part is solution of barium chloride and sodium sulfate in water react to give insoluble barium sulfate and the solution of sodium chloride. So it's an absolute word problem sort of a word equation. We're going to convert it directly into a chemical equation, right? So solution of barium chloride. So that means BaCl2 solution, that means it's an aqueous form. And sodium sulfate, that means these two are the reactants. And sodium sulfate. Sodium sulfate is Na2SO4. In water, again aqueous, soluble form. react. So that means our reactants are done. React to give, that means we're talking about the products now, insoluble barium sulfate. Insoluble, that means it must have been a solid which doesn't dissolve. So barium sulfate, we know BaSO4 bracket S, and the solution aqueous of sodium chloride, NaCl solution. After writing the equation, we also have to balance it out, right? So keep that in mind whenever you solve a question like this. From a word problem to a skeletal equation, you have to solve it also. Second part, sodium hydroxide solution in water, that means NaOH aqueous reacts, this is another reactant, with hydrochloric acid solution in water, HCl, to produce sodium chloride solution in water, NaCl aqueous plus water, right? So that is what we achieved here. Alright, let's move on to next, page number 10. First question asks us, a solution of a substance X is used for whitewashing. We need to name the substance, what is this X, and we have to also mention its formula. Write reaction of the substance X named in first part above with water. Okay, so X we need to find out. Solution of a substance is used for whitewashing. We know whitewashing calcium oxide is related. Its chemical formula is CaO. And we need to write a reaction with it reacting with water. So here it goes. Once the calcium oxide reacts vigorously with water, it forms calcium hydroxide, which is slaked lime. So the reaction is CaO plus water, H2O, gives CaOH whole twice. This is also called slaked lime or calcium hydroxide. So these kind of reactions you will see, or questions you will see a lot in your 10th standard. So we need to keep practicing for these. Question number 2 on page number 10. Why is the amount of gas collected in one of the test tubes in textbook activity 1.7, that's electrolysis of water, double of the amount collected in the other? Name this gas. So this was also a repeated question in CPSE 2015. So in activity 1.7, you can go back to your books as well. Water is electrolyzed to give hydrogen gas at one electrode and oxygen gas at the other electrode. So the reaction goes like this. Water is splitting and giving us hydrogen and oxygen. Thus, 2 molecules of water on electrolysis give 2 molecules of hydrogen gas and 1 molecule of oxygen gas. Or in other words, the amount of hydrogen gas collected would be double than that of oxygen gas. So 1 molecule of oxygen we get with 2 molecules of hydrogen whenever 2 molecules of water split. Alright. Moving on to page number 13. Question number 1. Why does the color of copper sulfate solution change when an iron nail is dipped in it? This question was reframed and asked in CBSE 2015 Delhi. An iron nail is dipped in the solution of copper sulfate for about 30 minutes. State the change in color observed. Give reason for the change. Alright. So whenever an iron nail is dipped in copper sulfate solution, displacement reaction takes place, right? The color of copper sulfate solution fades due to the formation of light green solution of iron sulfate. So looking at the reaction, we will be able to understand how does the displacement reaction take place here. We know iron, Fe, dipped in copper sulfate, CuSO4, which is a bluish solution. Displacement reaction, this stronger one as compared to copper, iron is stronger, is going to displace the copper, leaving the copper out or kicking it away. So that means now the product would be FeSO4, which is greenish solution, and copper will be found. Alright, this is a displacement reaction. Example number 2, give an example of a double displacement reaction other than the one given in activity 1.10. So 1.10, you can always go back there. A double displacement reaction between the reactants lead nitrate and potassium iodide gives new substances lead iodide and potassium nitrate. PbNO3 whole twice plus Ki gives PbI2 and KNO3. In this reaction, lead nitrate and potassium iodide exchange ions to form 2 new compounds, lead iodide and potassium nitrate. Hence, it's a double displacement reaction. So, Pb and K, so our potassium and lead exchange their places, right? My K goes with NO3 and Pb goes with I, right? That's how it is double displacement reaction. Question number 3, identify the substances that are oxidized and the substances that are reduced in the following reaction. So basically 4Na plus O2 gives 2Na2O. There is again a detailed video on the same topic, oxidation and reduction, redox reaction. You can find it in the section below or in the I above. Let's see. Sodium is oxidized to sodium oxide as it gains oxygen and oxygen gets reduced. So basically the one which is uh, gaining oxygen, getting oxygen attached with itself, is basically the one which is getting oxidized, and the other way around is if a molecule is losing away its hydrogen, it is also tend to get oxidized. So in terms of oxygen it is gain, and in terms of hydrogen it is loss. So here we are seeing that Na gains oxygen, so it is oxidized. Here let's see, CuO plus H2 gives Cu plus H2O. Let's see. Copper oxide is reduced to copper, loss of oxygen, while hydrogen gets oxidized to water, gain. Alright. So now we are on to the textbook back exercise questions for chapter number 1. So question goes like this. Which of the statement about the reaction below are incorrect? So basically we are given a reaction and we are given 4 statements. We need to understand or tell us the answer as which of the following statements, maybe 1 or 2, are correct about the reaction. So reaction is going like this. 2PbO plus C gives us 2Pb plus CO2. So we can clearly understand that there is movement of oxygen happening from one location to the other. There's a shift here, and so it's an oxidation reduction reaction. So let's understand the statements given here. Before that, we just get to memorize that what is oxidation reduction in terms of oxygen here, because oxygen is involved. Whenever there is gain of oxygen, it's called oxidation, and loss of oxygen is reduction. So let's see who is losing and who's gaining. So Pb gets left alone here without the oxygen. That means what has happened? It has been reduced because oxygen has moved away from it. And carbon dioxide here has gained the oxygen. So that means it has oxidized. Okay. Lead is getting reduced. We just saw, yes, correct. Carbon dioxide is getting oxidized, correct, right? So multiple statements are correct because oxygen has combined with it. It has gained oxygen. Carbon is getting oxidized. No, carbon is getting left alone here. And lead oxide is getting reduced. Lead oxide is getting reduced. No, lead has basically lost it. Okay. So basically, we are left with these two answers correct. Our first option is correct. Oxidation is gain of oxygen and reduction reaction is release of oxygen. A. Correct. Question number 2 again. Fe2O3 plus 2Al will give us Al2O3 plus 2Fe. The above reaction is an example of, so before we even dive in, let's see what is happening here. Fe is getting left out alone and Al is replacing this one. So let's see. Is it a combination reactions? No, there is separation happening here. Double displacement reaction? No, there is 3 components here and one is replacing the other. Decomposition reaction, is it breaking down into its constituents? No. Displacement? Yes, definitely, because Al is displacing the Fe. So it's a displacement reaction. What happens when dilute hydrochloric acid is added to iron fillings? So we have a jar of iron fillings, and if we add in dilute hydrochloric, what will happen? Take the correct answer. Hydrogen gas and iron chloride are produced. So we need to write a reaction here. So understanding in your mind itself, it's more than enough. So we have iron, we have HCl. So what will we get? Hydrogen gas will be liberated and FeCl2 will be formed. Iron chloride will be formed. So our first statement itself is correct. Hydrogen gas and iron chloride are produced. Let's see if there are multiple answers to it. Chlorine gas and iron hydroxide are produced. Definitely no, hydrogen gas is released, we all know. No reaction takes place, again is wrong. Iron, salt and water are produced. Whoa, no. Right? So the first one is correct. Hydrogen gas and iron chloride are produced. Question number 4, what is a balanced chemical equation? Why chemical equation should be balanced? So this again has been discussed in the lectures previously, so we can always go back. Answer: a chemical equation is a balanced one when the number of atoms of each type involved in a chemical reaction are same on both the reactant and product sides of the equation. According to the law of conservation of mass, very important, when a chemical reaction occurs, the mass of the products should be equal to the mass of the reactant. So our LHS should be equal to RHS, reactants should be equal to the products. Therefore, the amount of the atoms in each element does not change in the chemical reaction. As a result, the chemical equation that shows the chemical reaction needs to be balanced. A balanced chemical equation occurs when the number of the atoms involved in the reactant side is equal to the number on the product side. Next question. Translate the following statements into chemical equations and then balance them. So we are given with a word equation. We are going to transfer it into a skeletal equation, then balance them also. We've done that earlier as well. Hydrogen gas combines with nitrogen to form ammonia. I've just discussed in the previous section, page number 6, remember. So I'm just going to skip that part and show you the balanced equations. Hydrogen gas H2 combines with nitrogen N2 gives ammonia NH3. We're going to balance it, write a tabular form. Hydrogen how many, N2 how many, then on the product side as well, and then we're going to match it up. Hydrogen sulfide gas H2S burns in air oxygen, burning, oxidation, oxygen is involved, to give water and sulfur dioxide SO2 plus H2. Right, we're going to again balance and get this equation. Barium chloride BaCl2 reacts with aluminium sulfate Al2SO4 whole thrice. Balance is involved there. You need to go back again to give aluminium chloride precipitate of barium sulfate BaSO4. And the balanced equation goes like this. And lastly, potassium metal reacts with water to give potassium hydroxide and hydrogen gas. Potassium metal K, simple reactant with water plus H2O will give us potassium hydroxide KOH and hydrogen gas H2. You can show up an arrow there as well. Alright. Question number 6. Balance the following chemical equations. Right. So again we are going to go back to the balancing part, making a LHS and an RHS, reactants how many and which all reactants, and the products which all. HNO3 plus Ca OH whole twice gives us CaNO3 whole twice plus H2O. So this is the balanced equation. You can just go through the reaction and the products here. Okay. We are moving on to question number 7 now. Write the balanced chemical equations for the following reactions. Calcium hydroxide CaOH whole twice plus carbon dioxide CO2 will give us calcium carbonate CaCO3 plus H2O, that's water. Zinc Zn plus silver nitrate AgNO3 will give us zinc nitrate ZnNO3 whole twice plus silver Ag. Thirdly, aluminium Al plus copper chloride CuCl2 will give us as the products aluminium chloride AlCl3 plus copper. Lastly, barium chloride BaCl2 plus potassium sulfate K2SO4 will give us barium sulfate BaSO4 plus potassium chloride KCl. Question number 8. Write the balanced chemical equation for the following and identify the type of reaction in each case. Alright. So potassium bromide KBr, barium iodide BaI2 gives us potassium iodide Ki and barium bromide. Barium bromide, it's here. Okay, sorry. Barium bromide BaBr2. Okay, so let us look at the reaction first. KBr, BaI2, I get Ki, K moves with I and Ba moves with Br. There's a double displacement reaction happening here. Okay. Next one, zinc carbonate ZnCO3 directly gives us zinc oxide, carbon dioxide and bromide, right? So it's a decomposition reaction because the reactant is basically breaking down itself into its constituents. Not the simpler ones, but yes, into some constituents. Alright. So this bromide is related to barium here, I'm so sorry. Hydrogen plus chloride, H2 plus Cl2, gives us hydrogen chloride. Two reactants forming one product, combination reaction. And magnesium plus hydrogen chloride giving us magnesium chloride and hydrogen. So this Cl is basically moving with magnesium and forming MgCl2, leaving the H2 behind, displacement reaction. Good. Ninth question. What does one mean by exothermic and endothermic reactions? Give examples. I'm just going to read out. We have already covered this in earlier videos, right? Exothermic reactions are the ones in which heat is evolved, are known as exothermic reactions. There are some examples here, and it is also indicated by writing plus heat. Endothermic, heat is absorbed, are known as endothermic reactions. It's indicated by writing heat on the product side. So basically heat is evolved minus heat. Question number 10. Why is respiration considered an exothermic reaction? Exhalation is called an exothermic reaction. Why? Steps of respiration are as follows. Step number 1. Food that we eat includes carbohydrates, proteins, etc. Step number 2. During digestion, carbohydrates are broken down in simpler substances called glucose. Step number 3. Glucose combines with oxygen in the cells of our body to provide energy. This reaction is called respiration. Since energy is released during this process, respiration is an exothermic reaction. And the reaction goes like this. So basically we'll be covering all of it in our life processes chapter also. There's a video again for the same, and that is why it's called an exothermic reaction, because basically we are breaking down complex food into simpler substances and then utilizing or absorbing or assimilating those simpler substances to produce energy. Energy is what? It's an exothermic reaction. So production of it produces a lot of energy. So it's an exothermic reaction. So we are giving out CO2, it's an exothermic reaction. Alright. Question number 11. Why are decomposition reactions called the opposite of combination reactions? Write the equations for these reactions. So basically, whenever we have a single substance that is getting decomposed to give two or more substances, it's also called, basically, it's decomposing into constituent reactants or products. Basically, it's called a decomposition reaction. Generalized equation goes like this. AB plus energy will give us A plus B. So there's an example here. Combination is going to be a little opposite of it. We have already got two or more reactants which are going to club together to form a single new substance. So the reaction, generalized reaction goes like this. A plus B gives AB. So it's quite the opposite here, right? Plus energy. There's an example here of carbon dioxide formation. So it's clear that decomposition reactions are opposite of combination reactions. Next question. Write one equation each for decomposition reaction where energy is supplied in the form of heat, light, or electricity. So we already know that when a single substance decomposes to give two or more substances, it's called decomposition reactions. So some examples are here. Calcium carbonate breaks up into calcium oxide and carbon dioxide. This is the liberation of heat example. Light energy, whenever we are trying to decompose AgBr into its constituents Ag and Br, we get lightning sorts. And electricity production, water, this is a major example here. Hydrogen or water breaks down into hydrogen and oxygen, we just saw in the previous videos. 13th question. What is the difference between displacement and double displacement reaction? So basically, just to give an overview here, displacement reaction, one reactant will displace the position of any other reactant. Only one reactant moves, right? But in a double displacement reaction, two reactants exchange their places, right? So that is all has been explained here, and there are examples also here. You can pause the video and go through these examples. Question number 14. In the refining of silver, the recovery of silver from silver nitrate solution involves displacement by copper metal. So this is a word problem, sort of a equation that has been given to us. We just need to write down the reaction involved. So let us see how are we going to do this. In the refining of silver, so basically silver is involved. Recovery of silver from silver nitrate solution. So that means we are getting silver separately. from a solution of silver nitrate. So silver nitrate we're going to write here AgNO3, and on the product we'll get 1 Ag, is involved in displacement. So there's a displacement reaction happening by copper metal. So copper is here, so displacement is happening, copper is displacing, Cu will go with NO3 whole twice, and that is how the reaction will be found. Question next, 15th question. What do you mean by a precipitation reaction? Explain by giving examples. A reaction in which an insoluble solid called precipitate is formed that separates from the solution is called a precipitate solution. So basically, um, non semi-soluble form of a reactant into its product is called a precipitate basically. So, and there is one example again here. When a solution of iron chloride and ammonium hydroxide are mixed, brown precipitate of iron hydroxide is formed. The reaction is here. Next question, explain the following in terms of gain or loss of oxygen with two examples each, oxidation and reduction. Oxidation is addition of oxygen to a substance, that's why it's called oxidation. Examples are here. Reduction, removal of oxygen from a substance is called reduction. Examples are here. Alright. And again we have ZnO again. Zinc oxide is being reduced. Zinc oxide being reduced to zinc because oxygen gets removed from zinc oxide. Next question, a shiny brown colored element X on heating in air becomes black in color. Name the element X and the black colored compound formed. So it seems lot of vague parts, but let's just understand properly. The element X is copper and the black colored compound is copper oxide. The chemical reaction is Cu2 plus O2. So we need to remember that copper is the one which on heating in air gives us black color. So you need to remember that so that you can answer questions like these. So X is what? Copper, and whenever we are heating it, the black colored compound that is formed is copper oxide. So chemical reaction we can always give. We know copper plus heating in air, oxygen will be involved, and we are getting copper oxide, we have just said. Why do we apply paint on iron articles? To prevent it from corrosion, to prevent it from moisture, so that rusting cannot happen, right? So paint will do what? It is going to stop the contact of air and moisture with iron so that rusting cannot proceed. Question 19. Oil and fat containing food items are flushed with nitrogen. Why? So we are going to fill it up with lot of nitrogen. Why do we do that? When fats and oil are oxidized, so basically rancidity is involved here. So let's see why. When fats and oils are oxidized, they become rancid and their smell and taste changes. So rancidity is what? The food going stale. Majorly the food that has a lot of fats and oils goes stale quickly because it is exposed to air outside. Oxidation happens. Rancidity takes place. Smell and taste changes. Food items containing fat and oil are flushed with nitrogen to prevent rancidity of oil and fat, as nitrogen is an inert gas and prevents the oxidation of oils and fats. And lastly, we are on to our last question, question number 20. Explain the following terms with one example each, corrosion and rancidity. So we've just discussed what corrosion and rancidity does, so let's just quickly dive in. Corrosion is the process in which metals are eaten up gradually by the action of air, moisture, or a chemical such as an acid on the surface. So basically we are giving an example of iron here. Iron is exposed to moist air for a long period of time. Its surface acquires a coating of a brown flaky substance called rust. Rust is mainly what? Hydrated iron oxide. There is an involvement of water molecule here, but there is X molecule. There can be n number of substances, numericals there. So Fe2O3 dot XH2O. Reaction goes like this. Fe plus oxygen plus water, because moisture is involved, oxygen is involved, and we are going to get hydrated iron oxide. Okay. Rancidity, condition produced by aerial oxidation of fats and oils in foods marked by unpleasant smell and taste, is called rancidity. It spoils the food materials prepared in fats and oils which have been kept for a considerable time and makes them unfit for eating. It can be prevented by adding antioxidants to food containing fats and oils. You can also add nitrogen, so that we just learned. It can also be prevented by flushing fat and oil containing foods with nitrogen before sealing. Right? So this was the end of your first chapter NCERT in text questions and back exercise. Hope you liked the video. Do like, share and subscribe the video and hit the bell icon so that you can get the latest updates soon. Right? Thanks for watching.